I'm a millennial and a photographer. Born in 96, I remember summer vacations for me meant a chance to be using one of these. Yes, that was the modern era of film photography. When you only had 36 shots per roll, and each roll would then cost you around 40 to 50 rupees, and to develop each roll and to get your pictures printed would be around 60 to 70. The final destination for these printed pictures would then be the preserved albums dug out from cupboards to reminiscence on occasions with extended family, or at the most at schools for some kind of competition. Cut to today, photography and videography has become much more accessible, along with modern production techniques and equipment being widely available. All of this has given a lot of artists just like me the opportunity to explore our creativity. Everything now is automated and happens at the press of a button. You can see the results of your efforts immediately, and as soon as you see the end result, it is either put up as a story, a post, a video, or as a reel on one of the social media platforms, which is then closely followed by the anxiety or the excitement, inducing anticipation about how many people on the other side of the screen liked it, shared it, or commented on it. I'm sure a lot of people watching this talk, including me, are guilty of telling our friends, मैंने photo upload कर दी उसमें जाके comment करना. And that is exactly why I want to talk to you all about a very important topic. What really is the true validation of an artist's art? Before moving ahead, let me put all my cards on table. Today I do have a good follower account, a good follower number on Instagram, and a good subscriber count, but that is not where I started. Throwback to the time when I used to visit my grandfather's house in cold and rustic Nashik. The first place I would run into would be his dark room. Yes, he was a photographer in the times when to be a photographer you had to be a master of chemicals, timings, and a lot of other things, just like knowing f stops and shutter speeds by heart. You know what? There was no auto mode in the cameras at that time. I always admired the time and effort that he used to put into making every single photograph. And that is where my love for photography actually bloomed. I used to shoot with anything and everything that I found, may it be a friend's camera or something else or my mobile phone. I started trying to see things differently through my lens. I did have an Instagram account back then, and I wouldn't deny. I too feel extremely validated. I used to feel extremely validated at that time, looking at the likes or reactions that the photos would receive. But only when my following substantially increased, I realized something very unusual, and that is extremely contrary to the general perception. That is not. It's not necessary for your audience to always love what you're doing. The harsh truth is the photos or any art that an artist loves creating may not always be appreciated on the social media. Here's an example. A random photo of me, just like standing there, gets around 40 or 44,000 likes, and it actually took zero effort to make. But a photograph on which I've spent a lot of time, I've actually thought a lot about shutter speeds and apertures and how can I edit it really well. I've spent a lot of time on it. It just gets around 10 or 11. Now, I'm sure you'll argue that that's still a pretty good number, but as a matter of fact, it's lower than the average amount of likes that my regular photographs get, and considerably lower than the selfie. So let's retrospect a bit. Should I, as an artist, have stopped creating high effort art and switched to create the kind of content that got me more validation of the internet? Internet validation can be pretty misleading, and is one of the things that I've learned throughout my career as an artist. Let's go back a little in time. I'm sure many of you have seen this painting, and many of you must recognize the artist too. Yes, Vincent van Gogh. Do you know how much it is valued currently at? $1 billion. Many of his paintings have similarly high values, and one might wonder that a person who created such exotic, such expensive artworks must have led a very luxurious life. But that is not true. I would suggest you actually go and read a little bit about Van Gogh and how he spent his life, because a lot of his paintings became famous right after his death. Similarly, this is Vivian Mayer, who is an American street photographer and who worked as a nanny for 40 years. And during this time, she shot over 150,000 photographs. And trust me, it is a lot considering that era of photography. Her work was also discovered after her death and it was exhibited all around the world. Okay, wait. Now, what I'm trying to say is that it's not that you would have to wait till the end of your life to have your artworks published. It is not the case. But I just want to tell you that these people and many others create art to not just to receive recognition, validation, or some kind of reward. They did it because they loved it. A selfless and pure love that you pour your heart out while making that one photograph, that one painting, or that one video that you are currently working on. And that is the only thing that matters. And unfortunately, so many artists fail to realize that in this modern day era of social media. Okay, now many people know that I'm also a vlogger and I create vlogs showing my life in New York City, which means talking to thousands of people through my camera. But one thing I'm pretty sure most of you don't know is that I'm a big time introvert. Yes, I am. And talking to the camera is easy for me because I'm not actually interacting with someone. But if you ask me to actually go and talk to someone about something, I would probably be the last person to do so. But let me tell you a story wherein I made the most of what I am and combined with what I love doing, that is photographing, to create something that made a difference. On March 12th, when the governor of New York, Andrew Cuomo, declared a state of emergency and schools and offices were shut down, this meant that there was going to be almost no people on the street, which means zero possibilities of interaction with anyone. I decided to document this historic event when one of the world's busiest cities was going to be shut down. I went on the streets and shot as much as I could and came home. I sat down and I was just thinking that the only shot that I didn't get was of Times Square being completely empty. Now, if you think Times Square is called the melting pot of the world, wherein thousands and probably hundreds of thousands of people visit it on a daily and weekly basis, that Times Square was going to be empty. And I couldn't sleep that night because I didn't have that one shot. So what I did was I just called a cab. I spent $80 on the cab riding from my apartment in Brooklyn to Times Square. I went there and I got that one shot. I did not do this because someone asked me to. I did not do this because I was getting paid or I knew that my followers would like the shots. I did it because I wanted to. I heard that voice from within. And in the end, it appeared to be on the cover page of the story that was published in National Geographic Traveler India magazine. Sounds of Silence, they called it, and which it was also number one on the list of the most read stories of 2020. But hey, it's not every time that your work will get appreciated online or even get published. Let me tell you another story. In January 2019, I decided to go on an expedition to Ladakh in the winters with my father. I'm sure you must have seen how beautiful it looks in the summers, but it's a completely different wonderland when you actually see it in winters. I wanted to photograph this for the love that I had for Ladakh and how much I enjoyed photography in these extreme conditions, basically challenging myself. I shot a lot over there. The temperatures were as low as minus 33 degrees Celsius. I stayed all night long, taking time lapses, making photographs, taking long exposures. But you know what? None of these got published. Or nor did they go even viral on social media, despite of them having a very unique factor to it. But that didn't definitely stop me from photographing. The same is the case with my vlogs. The reason that I started vlogging, and it is probably one of the first times I'm actually disclosing it to someone, is because I wanted my mother to see me when I'm 8,000 miles away from her. The subscriber and view count normally doesn't matter to me as much as long as I know that my two subscribers, that is my mom and my dad, are seeing me on their TV at least 2 to 3 times a week, getting updates from me, and their love is what keeps me going, pushing me to make vlogs even after working almost 5 days a week. So it is important that we sit down and we talk to ourselves. What is the purpose of creating art? And every time the answer should always be your love for that art. We are all amateurs. We all do it for love. Trust me, the satisfaction that you will get after creating something that you wanted, something that you created with all your heart, can never be compared to the satisfaction or even like getting a million likes. Okay, so long story short, let's answer the main question. What is the right validation for your art? As it is something that feels very important, especially when you are new to this field. And the answer is, it is only how you feel about your art and not about how few random people on the internet feel about it. Only you can decide how good your art is, how good your content is. If you go on social media, you're always going to find someone who's doing something amazing, something nice, that will make you compare yourself with that other person. Please don't let that happen, as your art will always be unique to yourself and cannot be compared to anyone else. Art in itself is something that is very pure, and there can be actually no real competition when it comes to art. So, validation of the people on the other end of the viewer spectrum should not always be the basis of vote for an artist. And only the end of an artist is more important, because art is so pure and subjective.